Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be picking out 5 books for the week to read. I will be using the TBR jar to help me pick out my books to read for the week. And this is my TBR cart with all of the books that I do want to get to at some point in the year. But we're going to be using the TBR jar to help me with that. Also, if you have any fun prompt ideas that I could add to the jar, let me know. So first, let's shake the jar. We have one word title. Oh, okay. Okay, I have 2 options. No, 3 options. I'm sorry. Oh. The first one is Real by Kennedy Ryan, which I do want to read. Then we have Collide by Bal Cabra, which I've never read any of her books before, but this looks like a hockey romance. Excuse you. Then this is Feybound by Sarah L. Arifi, which is a fantasy book. What am I in the mood for? So the first book we're choosing for this is Real by Kennedy Ryan. I'm really excited about this book. I've been dying to read it. It looks really good. The premise sounds really fun. Let's see, what does this one say? A book that was adapted to a TV show or movie. I actually have 3 books on this list that could fit this prompt. We have The Promised Neverland, which is a manga series, and they actually came out with like 2 or 3 seasons of the show. We also have, I don't know what number book this is in the Bridgerton series. I think this is 7. This is It's in His Kiss by Julia Quinn. This follows Hyacinth's story. This particular book has not been adapted to the TV show yet. Bridgerton is a TV show. And the last book that I might pick is A Feast for Crows by George R.R. Martin, and this is the 4th book in the A Song of Ice and Fire series, also known as Game of Thrones. I think we're gonna go with A Feast for Crows. She's a long one, but I think being it will be a week, I think I can finish it in a week. Wind, shake what your mama gave you. What do we have here? We have a graphic novel pick. I think I only have 1 graphic novel on here. And it is The Backups, A Summer of Stardom. The graphics look really cute. I don't know what this is about, but I'm excited. I have 3 books, 2 more to pick. We have a blue one. Read a book in a series, romance edition. I have a couple on here, but I already know what I'm gonna pick. We're gonna do Isabel and the Rogue by Liana de la Rosa. This is the 2nd book in the Luna Sister series. I absolutely loved the first one, so I cannot wait to read this one. Last one! I feel like also because I have a graphic novel on here, I feel like it won't feel as bad reading this many books in a week. I don't know what is up with my little scanner. It's just beeping away. An odd page number. Okay, this might take a while. I'm gonna look at my library books first because I would love to read at least one of them. Okay, this one's odd, so we'll read this one. It's called What Lies in the Woods by Kate Alice Marshall. One of my biggest reading goals for 2025 is to read some more thrillers. I've read a few thrillers in 2024, but I didn't love most of them. So I wanted to pick up some really good thrillers, and I've heard really good things about this one. It's 319 pages, so I believe this will fit the prompt beautifully. I think looking at this stack over here, we have a pretty diverse selection, which I love to see. So let's go over all the books that I just picked out. So the first book I picked up was Real by Kennedy Ryan. Can't wait for that one. Then we have Isabel and the Rogue by Liana de la Rosa. Then we have The Backups, A Summer of Stardom, which is a graphic novel. Oh, we also have A Feast for Crows by George R.R. Martin. And then the last book is What Lies in the Woods by Kate Alice Marshall. Let's get to reading. dropping on the floor, and 6 pages in. That's crazy. That's crazy. I don't know why in my right mind I wasn't like, you need tabs and pens and stuff. But now I gotta take some time out to get some tabs. Now, let me show you a really cool thing that I did. Actually, I got this idea off of TikTok. A person that I follow on TikTok did this, and I said, I have to do it too, because I think it's the most genius idea. I put the tabs in these little tackle boxes, and I separated them by color. Now, is it the most accurate? No. But they're a little bit better organized, so I can pick out the colors to match my books. Giving 5 stars. I know it. She says, I mean, this is obviously a huge budget and once in a lifetime role. I'm a standby. He says, no, you're a star who's standing by waiting for me to find her. Say that Canon does come off as a narcissist, but I kind of like him. I don't think I talked about what this book was about. This book follows Canon and Neva, and Canon is a very well-known Black director, and Neva is on Broadway as a standby for one of the leads. And one night she gets to go on because the lead is out, and Canon is with his friend Wright, I believe is his name, and they're in the audience because Wright is best friends, or not best friends, but Wright is close with Neva, and so he actually went to go see her debut in this performance. And Canon is in the middle of casting a movie that he is trying to put up. He's having issues finding the lead, and so when they go to the show, he is enraptured in Neva's performance. He auditions her for the role and she ends up getting it. I'm at the part of the book where Canon and Neva are kind of hanging out with each other for a little bit. Well, Canon is trying to get Neva to understand the character a little bit more. This is the first time Neva is actually going to be starring in a big movie and like being on camera and everything, so I feel like that's going to be very interesting. I'm loving this book. I think because it's a mixture of Hollywood business, Broadway show, romance. I think that's what I like about it. And to be honest, I think I might like this more than Longshot. Just so many good quotes in here. Like, I've been highlighting in on my Kindle as I go because I wanted to eat while I read, but I couldn't do that if I picked up the physical book. The writing is great, and I also think Kennedy Ryan does a good job with this too, making all of the side characters well developed. I feel like in stories, the side characters really make up a lot of the story, especially like when the main character is trying to figure out what to do, trying to get some good advice, and I feel like these side characters really have to help the main character think a little bit more on their decisions. But anyway, I'm going to continue reading, and I'll probably give an update tomorrow and see how far I get tonight. Kennedy Ryan. Miss Kennedy Ryan. This is for Miss Kennedy Ryan only. Could you write a musical? Could this be the musical? Good morning, friends. It is the next day. I finished in one day Real by Kennedy Ryan. I could not put this book down. I'm giving it 6 stars, even though I know 6 stars is not a thing. I highly recommend it. Kennedy Ryan can do no wrong when it comes to romance. After further consideration, I think this is my new favorite Kennedy Ryan book. Like, I cannot wait for the next book to come out, whenever that will be. But anyway, we're gonna put her back up here. Okay, sorry, this took forever to put up, but I'm gonna grab coffee and then we're gonna pick out our next book together. I just finished reading a romance, So part of me either wants to pick up one of these two books. This one is very long, and I'm actually going to start reading this tonight. I'm not going to read this right now. So the only other option I have is What Lies in the Woods by Kate Alice Marshall, which actually I'm really excited to dive into. This is a thriller that I know a lot of people are obsessed with and love. So update time. Sorry for the bad lighting, but I'm near this window and it's giving so much light in the wrong direction. I am 124 pages in What Lies in the Woods. I'm enjoying it so far. In the beginning, I was like, okay, where's the thriller aspect of this book? But it's just getting to there, so that's good. This book basically follows Naomi and her two friends, Cassidy and Olivia. About 20 years ago, they used to play in the woods all the time. Something crazy happens to them. We don't know what it is yet, but long story short, Naomi comes back like stabbed a gazillion times. Because she's alive, she pointed out who her killer was, and she ends up putting the person that did it to her behind bars. We're also here 20 years later. It's a call from her friend Olivia, who is like, hey, we need to talk. So she decides to go back to her hometown. She goes to talk to Olivia as she goes sees her dad, which they have a very interesting relationship. She's like, I found Persephone. I'm like, who the heck is Persephone? They know this big secret, but nobody knows what it is. I feel like we're about to figure out what actually happened in the woods that day. All three of them seem like they are keeping a really big secret and not sharing with anybody, so clearly something crazy happens. I'm probably gonna finish this book today, honestly, because it's reading pretty fast. And honestly, this is my first thriller of 2025. But anyway, I'm gonna continue reading What Lies in the Woods. Yes, I have Game of Thrones on again. I can't help it. Okay guys, so update time. I finished What Lies in the Woods by Kate Alice Marshall. Right now, I am in between a 3.75 and a 4-star. Definitely wasn't a 5-star. What I did enjoy was the journey we got to the end of the book. Really enjoyed all the different characters, how it mostly took place in this really small town. Also how like each character in the book took some part in what happened. I'm just gonna say with the plot twist, there were about 2 in the book. I already guessed one of them. The last part I kind of guessed, but I didn't know how it was all gonna come together at the end. So I think that was the most thrilling aspect of it. Because I guessed some of the plot twist in the book, I just couldn't give it a 5-star. I'm gonna sit on my rating for a little bit, and then at the end of the video, I'll probably give my final rating, but right now I'm in between a 3.75 and a 4-star rating. Okay, so I have 3 books left to read. I'm kind of in the mood to start this and then maybe pick up the graphic novel for like a little palette cleanser while I read this. We're gonna start with this. I'm actually gonna read most of it on my Kindle, but I do need to create a tabbing system for this book. What I like to do for tabbing systems, sometimes I create my own, sometimes I go on the internet for a little bit of inspiration. I already set up a pretty standard tabbing system for these specific books. Most of the time with fantasy, I kind of stick to the same tabbing system for every book, but for this particular series, I kind of made it a little different just because I'm aware of a lot of the characters that I will be meeting in the book. So I'm currently reading slash listening to A Feast for Crows by George R.R. Martin, and I don't know if I'm loving this one this much. I'm at the part where we learn a lot about Brienne, which actually is been pretty interesting. We haven't gotten like her POV in her own chapter, so I was listening to that. I was curling my hair. But I think the issue with this book is that for me, it kind of started off with learning about the Greyjoys, and I don't particularly care for them. So I was a bit bored in the beginning. Then we got to like a Cersei chapter, which I always, really pay close attention to Cersei chapters because Homegirl is wild. Like for me with Game of Thrones, even though I have watched the TV show a bunch of times, I still think there's so much of the Game of Thrones world that I don't know. And I feel like if you are really into Game of Thrones and want to learn more about the world and things like that, I would highly recommend reading the books. But yeah, I'm just gonna continue reading Feast for Crows until I get to a certain point, and then I think I might pick up the graphic novel for a little bit and finish and read that, and that way I only have 2 books left to read. Okay, so I wanted to give a little bit of an update. I finished the backups by these 4 authors, following these 3 girls who attend the same high school and they need a summer job. One of the postings was for an audition to be one of the backup singers for this big pop star, and they end up auditioning. These 3 girls end up auditioning and they end up booking the job. It's them just trying to navigate being on tour. We have Jenny, who's into pop music. We have Lauren, who's into classical music. And we have Maggie, who's really into heavy metal. And then the graphics were really bright and vibrant, which I absolutely love when it comes to graphic novels. This was a good time. Now, in terms of A Feast for Crows, I'm not at the halfway point, but I am close to it. I think I'm almost at like 40% of this. Once I get to 50, I might pause this and start my next book, Isabel and the Road. Alright y'all, let's wrap up this video. The first book I finished in this challenge was Real by Kennedy Ryan. This book was incredible. I absolutely loved it. This is going to be probably my favorite book of January, giving 6 stars for sure. The next book I have is What Lies in the Woods by Kate Alice Marshall. After further consideration, I'm going to give it a 4 star. I think with everything that happened and the journey that took us to the end of this book was very fun and thrilling, so I'm going to give it 4 stars, even though I did guess the plot twist. The next book I did finish was The Backups, A Summer of Stardom by these 4 authors. This is a young adult graphic novel. I really enjoyed this one. It was very cute. I think I'm going to give this a 3.75 star. I loved that it's about these 3 girls who decide to audition to be backup singers for this very famous pop star, and they end up touring on the road. That was really fun. I loved all of the crazy things that they got into. If you are into young adult graphic novels, then I highly recommend picking this up. Okay, A Feast for Crows by George R.R. Martin. I'm a little disappointed, especially the last book in the series was really good. This particular book was a bit of a slow one for me, but I think in every fantasy series there's always one book that just doesn't meet your expectations like the others. I'm going to give this book 3 stars. What I liked about this book was a lot of the history of the realm and Westeros was talked about, especially through Sam's POVs. We also got a lot of information about Brienne and Podrick, even though I felt like in her chapters it was a lot of this like traveling, but we did learn a lot about her and where she came from and how she became the person she is in the books. I also love Podrick. I love Podrick in the books, and I also love Podrick in the show, so it was always nice to see him in here as well. We learned a lot about Dorne, because in the show we don't learn a lot about the Dorne and Dornish culture and the Martells or anything, so I appreciated that aspect. I think what really was disappointing about this book was that there wasn't a lot of action as much as it was in the last 2 books. We were focusing on a few characters that I didn't particularly care for. Like I think I mentioned earlier, I'm not a fan of the Greyjoys, and there was a lot of Greyjoy talk in this book. What felt a little disjointed was the fact that we didn't get any Jon or Daenerys chapters, but I know that they will be in the next books, so I'm not worried, but we didn't get any of their POVs in this book. But overall, I think you should read this book because there's a lot of information given to you. It just wasn't my favorite. And then the last book I finished was Isabel and the Rogue by Liana De La Rosa. This book is the 2nd book in the Luna Sisters series, and I believe the 3rd book is going to be coming out sometime in August. In this series, we're actually following the 3 Luna sisters, and they are actually from Mexico, but because of the political disputes that are going on in Mexico, they flee to London and have to adapt to society norms. I also forgot to mention that they are Mexican heiresses, so that's another reason why they are fleeing. But in this book, we're following Isabel, and she is constantly overlooked all the time, especially when she's with her other 2 sisters. So because Isabel is so overlooked, she is actually on the hunt to find some British intelligence, British information that could potentially aid the Mexican government. She thinks she's kind of being sly by like slipping away during big parties, but she is capturing the eye of one person, and it's the Rogue, Captain Sirius Dawson. Now, Captain Sirius Dawson in London, in England, is very well known for being a player. He flirts with all the girls, he talks to all of these politicians. However, there is something underneath all of that, so you're gonna have to read this book to know what that is. Because Captain Sirius Dawson is so interested in Isabel, he realizes that she is up to something. Captain Sirius Dawson realizes what Isabel is doing and decides to offer his help. I love the historical references. I loved the characters, this tension between them throughout the book. I absolutely loved. I think I'm gonna give this book 4 stars. I feel like if you like historical fiction or historical romances, you should definitely pick this one up. Even though these are technically standalones, I would recommend reading the first book because there's a lot of information in the first book about what's going on, and also you get introduced to a lot of characters that you will meet in the next books. So I would recommend reading the first book, which is Anna Maria and the Fox. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. This video was quite long. I've been editing it for the past day, and so I've realized that I have accumulated a lot of footage. Hope you stuck around to watch, and if you're not already, please, I would love if you would subscribe, like the video, share it. But yeah, keep on reading, y'all.